Hello, I'm Charles Coves, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Coves Show, episode 144. Whether you're watching on YouTube or watching on Rumble or listening via one of the many podcast stations or facilities. In this week's episode, I want to raise your awareness around the trap of convenience. It's wonderful to have convenience. It's convenient to have bank credit, to have schools, to have fast food, or may I call it junk food. However, are you aware of how you may be compromising your principles, your philosophies, your values when you choose the convenient path? And what is the impact on your mind and your spirit when you don't follow your principles? I say you pay a big price. You pay the price of reduced self-confidence, reduced happiness, reduced pride in your behaviour, and the loss of health and the loss of freedom. I explore 9 common situations where the temptations of convenience can trap us. I hope this episode raises your consciousness around your ability to resist this seductive trap. Our format for the show is I share my big idea. I give you 6 resources to use in applying the big idea in your life, or the parts of it that are relevant to you. I review key happenings in the week, and then the foundational principles for the show and more background about me are at the end of the show, where regular viewers and listeners can skip that part because they already know it. So let's go with today's big idea. Convenience is wonderful, but it comes at a price. How often do you sell out your principles for convenience? Are you selling out doing hard things to take the easy path? Are you aware of how you are selling out? Are you suppressing it in your subconscious so you don't have to deal with this matter? Our culture in Australia, in the Western world, is big on convenience. All of the advertising is about how convenient something is. Parents try to make life as easy as possible for their children, to make life convenient for them so they don't have to go through hard times. But what that's doing is hugely damaging the ability of children and young adults to be resilient, to deal with difficult things. And life is difficult. I want to explore a number of practical examples to help your thinking around your decision making. Number 1, schools in Australia, schools in America, schools in England are in many cases eliminating any conversations around spiritual values and then bringing in, for example, transgender promoters to speak to 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds about nonsense around sex and gender. And so you might go, this is not good for my kids to be getting this stuff at school, or they might be bullied at school. And so you have the choice of homeschooling, but it's convenient to send the kids to school. It gives you free time. Are you choosing that convenience at the price of the impact of what they're being taught at school compared to home schooling? Number 2, fast food and junk food versus wholesome, freshly prepared food. It's very convenient to go to McDonald's, KFC, get a pizza. Wonderfully convenient. How often do you take that route? Number 3, taking a medical procedure to keep your job when you don't really want the medical procedure, but you want the convenience, the necessity sometimes of the income. But I say to you that you are paying a huge price when you do that, and you might not think that you are. You might think that you have no choice. let me assure you that you always have a choice. Being forced or blackmailed or coerced into having a medical procedure that you don't want is a big price to pay for the convenience of having a job that you think you can't afford to lose. Number 4, your kids on social media versus getting out into the real world, playing games on their tablets, on their iPhones. It's a wonderful, wonderful babysitting capability, but it's a big price that the kids are paying for your convenient lifestyle where you don't have to worry about your kids. What can you do to limit and control the amount of time, the unhealthy time that your kids spend on, let's call it, social media? Of course, if you're exhausted, it's very convenient, but one of the reasons why you're exhausted is because you've taken the convenient route of not giving yourself healthy food. 5th example, being fit through exercise or being slack. It's very convenient to be slack, very convenient to stay on the couch. It's not convenient to go out there and do the heavy breathing and the hard work like I do almost every day and have done so for almost 50 years. It is seductive not to do the exercise. It is convenient not to do the exercise. 6th example, binge spending, going on shopping sprees versus discipline around handling money. It's very convenient when you see something, oh, I'd like that. You think you'd like it. You've got the convenience of credit. Just put it on your card, worry about it later. And then, often happens at Christmas, as you know, then you have the January blues where you have to pay off the credit card. How conscious are you about your spending versus the convenience of just buying more stuff? And how much stuff have you got in your house anyway? 7th example, accepting the government narrative about anything compared to thinking. And one of my favorite quotes is that thinking is the hardest work there is. It's not convenient having to think. It's very convenient. Just believe what the government says. I say that is a bad decision that you're making to believe what government tells you. I used to believe that governments, particularly in Australia, care about their constituents. I no longer believe that. I believe our politicians are to a massive degree, almost total degree, driven by their own self-interest, not what's good for this country. And so if you take the convenience of just believing what government tells you, you are grossly and sadly misinformed. But it's convenient to do so, but you will pay a price. The 8th example, as I'm having my beautiful cup of coffee, very convenient to have a wonderful coffee machine, 3 different types of coffee machine making in this house. Oh, yum. The 8th example, meditation versus watching TV. Very convenient to just watch TV. Meditation gives you enormous benefits, proven wonderful benefits, but it's convenient to just stay on the couch. Example number 9, speaking the truth as a whistleblower particularly versus the convenience of silence. And I call on public servants in Australia to deeply examine their consciences, to consider the corruption that's going on in government and whether or not they should become whistleblowers, on what their principles say about becoming a whistleblower versus the convenience of silence. Australia and most countries around the world need whistleblowers to speak up, because otherwise politicians and bureaucrats will continue to get away with corrupt practices, criminal practices, unethical practices. It's a scary proposition. It's very seductive to take the convenience of silence. So what happens if we stay silent? Well, we head towards dictatorship. We head towards corrupt politicians doing what they want. We head towards an increasing loss of freedom. I say it's a big price to pay. If you sell out for convenience and your health suffers, you're paying another price of freedom. If your children are not capable human beings, you pay a price of disappointment in their behavior, and you won't be happy about yourself. Of course, one of the challenges then is to say, well, what are my principles? What are my philosophies? What are my values? Yes, that's a crucial element for you to explore, and that's what this show is about, to remind you of the need to clarify your principles, your philosophy, and your values, and to have a scale of values, and to decide, am I going to choose convenience or am I going to choose my values? Of course, convenience can be one of your values. And if you say your convenience is all that matters, that's the most important thing, that's a valid choice. And well done to you for at least being clear on what your values are. But we always pay that price. And if you do compromise, it will impact on your self-confidence. It will impact on your happiness. It will reduce your pride in your behavior. So think about it. So feel about it. So ask yourself, am I wrongly choosing the convenient path? So here are some resources to help you considering this question. My song this week was written by Barry Gibb and the Bee Gees, called Immortality. Beautiful song sung by Celine Dion. Some magnificent lyrics in it. And I'm not going to sing it because it's too difficult to sing, but have the words for the song when you listen to this beautiful song and the way that she sings it. And I must follow on the road that lies ahead. I won't let my heart control my head. Now, that's a bit of a controversial one, isn't it? Do you let your heart control your head? No, the two have to work hand in hand. And it says, fulfill your destiny. It's there within the child. My storm will never end. My fate is on the wind. The lyrics say this, because I have found a dream that must come true. Every ounce of me must see it through. Another lyric, there is a vision and a fire in me. I keep the memory of you and me inside. So this is a story of letting a person go to follow one's own dream, one's own vision. Powerful, powerful idea as you listen to this beautiful meditative music. The book this week is The Good Book, compiled by A.C. Grayling. I've recommended it before, but it's a very big book. It's a secular Bible. It's got some wonderful pieces on principles, on philosophies, on values. If you need some help on deciding, where would I get a useful book to delve into some of these topics to help me clarify what they might be. My spiritual tip this week is to meditate on this question of what your principles are, what your philosophy is, what your values are. My health tip this week is to raise your awareness about the decisions you're making on a convenience basis that impact on your health, particularly your physical health. I know I talk about health being mental, physical, spiritual. Well, this time I'm on the physical side. How often you choose convenience for your nourishment compared to what's best for you. My quote from Ayn Rand, I'm a fan of Ayn Rand, particularly because she drives the whole idea of responsibility, of taking responsibility. And she says, this happiness is the state of consciousness which proceeds from the achievement of one's values. Happiness is the state of consciousness which proceeds from the achievement of one's values. If you're not achieving your values, you won't be happy, says Ayn Rand. I agree with that. And most people I know have very little clarity around their values. So get clear on those values. And lastly, a spot of humour. We've been having a lot of stuff going on about health and healthcare, and in Australia the numbers of healthcare workers have dropped dramatically. Well, I've always said that hospitals are dangerous places to be, and one of the reasons why I want you to be healthy is so that you don't have to go to hospital. So let me quote to you some actual writings in hospital charts. This is stuff that people write who work in hospitals on the hospital charts of their patients. Here's the first one. The patient has no previous history of suicides. Next one. Patient's medical history has been remarkably insignificant, with only a 40-pound weight gain in the past 3 days. Oh, well, that's no problems. Next one. She has no rigours or shaking chills, but her husband states she was very hot in bed last night. Next one. Patient has chest pain if she lies on her left side for over a year. Well, hallelujah. The patient is tearful and crying constantly. She also appears to be depressed. This is the crap that people put on hospital charts. You go to these places, they're very dangerous. I'm sure you could all tell me stories about people who have had medical misadventure in hospitals. In fact, medical misadventure is the third biggest cause of death in America. Statistics, research, science shows this. And these quotes from these hospital charts show you why. Next one. The patient has been depressed since she began seeing me in 1993. She is numb from her toes down. Next one. Occasional, constant, infrequent headaches. And lastly, and I love this because when people say to me, what is a passion provocateur? I say, think of me as a mental laxative. I unblock constipated thinking. Well, what about this on a medical chart in a hospital? She stated that she had been constipated for most of her life until she got a divorce. Oh, I love it, I love it, I love it. So now, I hope these resources help you to use today's big idea of not choosing the convenient path in every case to make a beneficial difference in your life. A life that I believe is meant to be all that you are capable of making it. My aim for the show is to motivate you, to inspire you, to provoke you, to examine your life now and to continue doing so for the rest of your life. I invite you to subscribe to this podcast, to this YouTube channel, to the Rumble channel. Please share it with your family, friends, and work colleagues. Discover more about the self-awareness and passion quest at charlescoves.com and also our corporate programs at coves.com. My books, Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance, are available at both of those websites. Now, let's review some key happenings over the course of the past week. These are key happenings that I think are very relevant to our experience of life, of what it's like in the Western world, particularly because I live in the Western world. I can't speak about other places so much, but many of these issues relate to the whole world. First one relevant to the whole world, which is government spending more money than they have, and the Victorian government led by Daniel Andrews, the worst premier in our entire history, corrupt, criminal, liar. The budget woes continue, $10 billion blowout, and the government has committed to running the Commonwealth Games in this state. Bang, there's another $2 billion goes there. People aren't thinking about the price this community will pay for this indebtedness. And one unresolved question is where, or unanswered question is, where is the money coming from? I have my views that it's coming from an overseas country that Daniel Andrews is very close to. I also point out that his ministers are unwilling to speak up because many of them are so incompetent they know they would never properly, they don't deserve a ministerial role, and they're not going to give away their income to speak up about the corruption that's happening in this state. There will be a big price to pay. Think Venezuela, everybody. The same applies to any country that spends way beyond its capabilities. Health services will fail, and that's why I'm constantly urging you to look after your health so you don't have to go to a hospital. You don't need medical care. The bank system is under pressure, as you know, from American banks being in trouble. The indebtedness of our society is significant. And again, if you take the convenience of just incurring more and more debt and pushing the problem down the road rather than taking the discipline of controlling, the discipline of acting in particular ways, you will pay a price. Our society is paying a price. And then the interest rates that have gone up have had a significant impact on people. And that, you know, this whole question of the Reserve Bank of Australia and generally of interest rates going up, what impact that has, and the media coverage of people struggling with their mortgage payments will have, you know, there's starting to be some significant stress. Julie and I went to see a great show at the Alex Theatre that's on for the next 2 or 3 weeks called Not Finished With You Yet. Wonderfully clever musical. I recommend it. It's a new theatre piece, Alex Theatre in St Kilda. Check it out. We're having energy supply woes in Australia. I'll talk some more about that in the weeks to come. I love the planet. There is no climate emergency. There is a waste emergency. There is a soil health emergency. There is no climate emergency. Don't be sucked in. I was highly disappointed with the decision of the High Court of Australia this week on the babies case run by the AVN. It is I consider a disgraceful decision by the High Court. I say our courts in Australia have been politicised. Lastly, there's some hope in the Netherlands election that farmers who have pushed back against the nonsense of getting them off farming because of greenhouse gas emissions, it looks like there's some good news there on the election front. So keep your eyes peeled for that. So, if you're new to the show, stick around for the last part where I share the foundational principles for the show and also a bit more background about me. Again, thanks for watching or listening. And until our next show, may your week be full of passion, challenge, discipline, fun, and ever-increasing self-awareness. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye. Now, for listeners and viewers who want to know more about my background and what else I do with my life, as well as the foundational principles for this show that's now over 140 episodes, here it is. Since 1993, when I left my legal career, a career that I loved, so this is now 30 years, I have inspired, motivated, and provoked people to discover and pursue their passion. I have helped people with the books that I've written, with speeches at conferences, with seminars, with work with companies, team building programs, and one-on-one executive coaching. I've done this work in big companies, small companies, in government entities. One of my core principles is that freedom is what makes us truly human. That's why one of the greatest threats of government that leads you to observe the law is the loss of your freedom via being jailed. Incarceration. Without freedom, you and I are not much different to animals. This commitment I have for freedom is carried out by me primarily through 5 channels of activity. Number 1, I fight to preserve your freedom and everyone's freedom to pursue their passion. Number 2, inspiring you to be free through excellent health. Number 3, helping preserve freedom globally through the expansion of industrial hemp. I'm CEO of a hemp company that manufactures the world's best machinery. Hemp is a miraculous crop that enables every community to thrive independently of government. And in this way, the power of government to take away your freedom is minimized. Of course, as a subset of that, I fight for freedom to drink coffee. Number 4, I fight for freedom through legal strategies, through being the interface between lawyers and their clients, because clients don't understand lawyers and lawyers don't understand clients. And finally, as chairman of the Australian Institute of Comedy, I fight for freedom of thought and speech by comedians through humour, comedy and laughter, because suppressing the freedom of speech of comedians is the beginning of the end of freedom. The foundational principles for this weekly show are founded on the formula SA plus P equals S. Your self-awareness, SA plus P, your passion, equals S, your success. You will be successful when you have high self-awareness and you're pursuing your passion. The best definition of success that I have found over the years is this: success is the progressive realization of your worthy ideal. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous principle, the unexamined life is not worth living. You can see I'm wearing my red jacket. I always wear my red jacket in public presentations. Red is the colour of passion. Each week I explore one big idea that can change your life. And it's just one big idea because then there's a chance that you will remember it. If I share too many ideas, it all goes into fluff and you can't remember it and you keep doing what you've always done. I hope to inspire you to make one small change, just one thing. When I share that big idea, I then share some practical resources. You've heard what those 6 resources are: a song, the lyrics of a song, a book, a spiritual tip, a health tip, a quote, and of course, some humor. This show is not politically correct. And I love certain addictions, including coffee and exercise and reading, and some unmentionable in polite company addictions. You can turn your mind to what you might think that might be. This show definitely subscribes to the view that we have a spiritual life. So if that offends you, don't watch, don't listen. I promise you I don't include anything in this show that I don't believe to be of value, that I don't believe to be useful. I would never accept sponsorship for a product that I didn't believe was of value. If you have any questions or suggestions, please email me at charles@coves.com. Again, thanks for listening to this last piece as well. I look forward to having you with me for future shows in the weeks and months to come. Bye.